The views and opinions expressed during this program are not necessarily those of Overseas Radio Network, the Expat Broadcasting Group, the staff, management, or broadcast partners. All information provided is for educational purposes only. Before taking action, consult a licensed professional.
The Coast to Coast.
Check 1, 2. Testing.
Now hear me.
You're listening to This Week in Costa Rica.
Once the volume control is set, do not readjust.
On the Overseas Radio Network.
That's why I want you to go on the radio.
This Week in Costa Rica, bringing you the latest information from expats, experts, and people just like you who chose to escape, retire, and live in Costa Rica.
Listen and decide in your own mind what sounds best.
Got a question? A comment?
They have to be dealt with on an altogether different level.
Or just want to talk to an expert on living in Costa Rica?
Brother, what a way to make a living.
Give us a call now.
Hello?
Lines are open and your answers are just one phone call away.
Now, if you have some suggestions to offer, we're willing to listen to you.
Ready?
This Week in Costa Rica with your host,
Who you?
Corey Coates.
And now, folks, it's showtime.
Welcome to This Week in Costa Rica. I am Corey, coming to you from the Overseas Radio Broadcast Facility here in sunny Jaco Beach, Costa Rica, on the west coast. This beautiful jewel of a nation, my expatriation destination. Thank you for joining me today. If you are listening live, if you're here on download, thank you as well. Website is thisweekincostarica.com. Info at thisweekincostarica.com is the email if you want to get a hold of me. Don't forget, guys, as well, we do have a toll-free line in Canada and the United States of America. That is 888-741-7472 if you want to call in and chat. If I can, I might press a button and bring you on the air. But let me tell you, the best way to get a hold of me, email, Facebook, or Twitter, one of those. Keep my eye on that all the time, walking around with this little iPad mini. Just hit thisweekincostarica.com, and you can find our Facebook page to like us, the Twitter account to follow us if that is your leaning, and, of course, the email and the way you can get a hold of me. And don't forget all the archives of these shows. If you missed one, it's good to be back here in studio. Been in and out the last couple of weeks, working on the Global TESOL College here, helping them get that center opened up in Jaco. Very excited. We're going to have, actually, next week, the lead instructor and manager over there, Andrew Woodbury, back in for a segment or two to talk about progress with the school and how things are going there. Don't forget, guys, if you want to get a hold of us, because you're thinking about teaching English abroad, that's simply an email away. Info at thisweekincostarica.com. I'll help you out. I got a lot of exciting guests coming up today. Two of them, friends of mine who came down from Canada, spent about 2 weeks here in Costa Rica, traveling, enjoying this country in a way that I'm a little bit envious of, even though I've lived here for, over 7 years now. Kathy, Joe, and Craig came down from Ontario, Canada. That's a province, you know, to get to know this country a little bit better. Their second trip here, they came down here on a vacation years ago, but I think this time they came down on more of a mission. The mission being they wanted to see more of the country from the eyes of an entrepreneur, to see some of the possibilities that exist in this country, to change your lifestyle, and to live and work in a way that maybe is a little bit different than we're accustomed to up in North America. And boy, did they ever do it. They traveled from one side of the country to the other by renting a car here in Jaco, driving all the way to the Caribbean, which is amazing. They went all the way down to Uvita. I think they were in Osa for a while. I have to catch up with these guys. They're going to be in studio in a little bit, but more importantly, they're going to speak on some of the experiences that they had here in Jaco and why they kept gravitating back to this town. You hear me speak a lot about this particular community, and there's a good reason. There's a reason why I live here now, and a reason why a lot of expats start their journey in this town. It's kind of an easy transition. It's the warm bath that you can sink into. There's a great blend of expats and locals in this particular community that make that transition a little bit more palatable. English is spoken widely here in town. All of the amenities that you're accustomed to are available to you. Lots of living accommodations here available. Everything from a little shack on the beach all the way up to a high-end luxury condo on the ocean. Easy access to the airport. Great medical facilities here. Incredible restaurants and food. Very active nightlife, and of course, family friendly during the day. All of that right here on the beach. So it's pretty obvious why this is a good choice for a lot of folks. And is where I ended up. But really, I think what's important is that Kathy, Joe, and Craig, while spending time here, continue to say with increased frequency that they were not looking forward to going back. And we all say that. If we go on a vacation, for example, hit some tropical island, drinking our margarita, surf tickling your toes while you're sitting in your beach chair, it's like, oh, I could stay here forever. Well, I know that glint in someone's eye when they're sitting in that beach chair and they say that. And they kind of mean it. Not because they don't want to go back to what they have or who they were, but more that when they've reached this destination, they've started to discover who they really are or who they want to be. The other thing I found was really curious, but again, an observation that I've made time and time again here, is the number of times that people in Costa Rica look around and say, man, there are business opportunities abounding. There are great chances here for someone to come down with the right attitude and succeed. With a little bit of patience, a lot of elbow grease, some compassion, understanding, and a little bit of study into the market, you've got an opportunity around every corner. In many cases, to take, again, that tried, tested, and true business model, something that works, functions very well in North America or in Europe, bring it here, tweak it, massage it to work within the Latin culture, more specifically to work within the Costa Rican Latin culture, because it is very much different from a lot of the other countries. Each one is distinct. But do it in a way that is going to be relevant to the market and is going to speak well to the locals. You could be onto something really, really quickly. You can capitalize on that investment and get a return on it within a very short period of time, with expansion opportunities galore. I think the largest reason being, especially in this country, there is a growing middle class. With the focus being on education and healthcare for the last 50 years in Costa Rica, basically, it's allowed not only international business to come in here and feel secure to continue to do their business under a stable government, but more importantly, it gives this sense of growth and opportunity to the population such that they can get themselves into financially secure positions, become upwardly mobile, focus on their education, and grow their family income. Ergo, continue to grow the economy and begin to create a fertile ground into which an entrepreneur can go ahead and plant their business and watch it grow. I'm excited. That's why I'm still here. This is why a lot of people are coming to Costa Rica again, now that we're seeing a slow and steady recovery, I would say, of the U.S. economy. Depends who you ask, but if you ask me, it looks like it's kind of on the up. Still shaky ground, but I think there's a great opportunity here. And I think there's a lot of people in the United States who are still a little bit shell-shocked from what went down in the last 4 or 5 years and are saying, okay, you know what? Maybe it's time to pick up stakes and try this somewhere else. And hey, why not do it where the weather's perfect, the people are nice, the food is great, and the cost of living is a little bit lower? Welcome to Pura Vida. We shall see. I want you guys to stick around. Got to run to a break, but I've got Dan Stevens from the Costa Rican Times coming up, bringing us up to speed on what's going on around Costa Rica. I want you guys to stick around because you are listening to This Week in Costa Rica only on the Overseas Radio Network.
So you want to jump out your trick bag and ease on into hip bag, but you ain't just exactly sure what's hip.
Sit back and relax. You are tuned into the Overseas Radio Network.
Looking to invest, live, or retire overseas? Before you pack your bags, you need to log on to nagellog.com. It's the only stop you need to make for global business, asset protection, estate planning, overseas residency, and citizenship needs. Our experts have experience working in 41 countries around the world. Starting a business abroad can be overwhelming without expert help. We assist clients with foreign trust, foundations, corporations, LLCs, IBCs, and property acquisition. Need help with IRA assets abroad, capital formation, foreign securities issues, banking, brokerage, or finance needs? nagellog.com. We ensure compliance with U.S. tax and regulatory laws. We engineer global structures to help our clients achieve their personal and business objectives. To find out about our introductory personal asset protection plan, visit NagelLaw.com. NagelLaw.com. We represent capital overseas.
Belize, an asset protection haven where English is the official language. If you've been considering protecting your assets with an offshore trust or foundation, look no further. An asset protection structure from Georgetown Trust will serve you and your family for generations to come. Your grandkids will be grateful for the legacy that you were wise enough to establish for them today. You'll rest easy because Belize has some of the most protective trust laws in the world, and it's all done in English. Georgetown Trust has served thousands of clients over the past 15 years with integrity, efficiency, and privacy. Georgetown Trust also serves as a registered agent for IBC's mutual funds and insurance companies. If you're an offshore service provider, inquire about wholesale structures to fit almost any offshore need. Visit our website today, www.georgetowntrust.com, and see how simple and affordable getting started can be. Mention ORN and receive $100 off a structure formation. That's www.georgetowntrust.com.
You've decided that you want to move overseas for that quality of life experience you've always dreamed of. But you don't want to give up the best of back home. We agree. Things like high-speed internet, safe neighborhoods where you can stroll along a shaded sidewalk, a place where you know your neighbors and you have friends close by. These are important. Grand Pacifica Beach and Golf Resort gives you the best comforts of back home paired with the exceptional lifestyle only available south of the border. Imagine strolling along over 3 miles of secluded beach, playing a round of golf along the ocean, surfing a world-class break all to yourself, enjoying a fine meal on your balcony and toasting to another spectacular sunset. All this and more can be yours only an hour from Managua. Complete home and lot packages start under $100,000, and a nice home on the golf course is yours for the mid-twos. Come visit for a weekend and enjoy our oceanside golf course. Ride horseback on the beach, meet your future neighbors, and make some new friends. Grand Pacifica may be a place you'd like to call home. For more information, email Mike@Mike'sGringoLife.com. That's Mike@Mike'sGringoLife.com.
I don't recycle. I mean, we can just find another planet for your kids to live on, you know?
Log on to YouGottaBeKidding.org and learn about all the ways you can recycle.
Hey, recycling's just not my thing.
Don't be that guy. Log on to YouGottaBeKidding.org.
You're tuned in to OverseasRadio.com, the station to help you reach your dream destination.
This Week in Costa Rica is hosted by Canadian entrepreneur Corey Coates. Corey has been living and working as a professional in Costa Rica for over 5 years.
I've been lost in my own place, and I'm getting with it.
He's built a vast network of professional connections to help you with everything from immigration to relocation. Call in or send Corey an email to talk about the steps you need to take in making your dream of living in paradise a reality.
Welcome back to This Week in Costa Rica. Segment number 2 means I'm going to get on the horn here. Call into the greater San Jose area. Talk to my good friend, editor and founder-in-chief of the Costa Rican Times, Mr. Dan Stevens. Dan, how are you?
I am great, Corey. How was your weekend?
Weekend was great. The weather was beautiful out here. I hear you guys got dumped on in the valley.
We did get dumped on a little bit, but in the Heredia area, it was a kind of a nice party last night, or Saturday night.
I can imagine so, because now if anybody knows anything about Costa Rica, it's like any other Latin American country. They care about one thing and one thing only, and that is soccer.
That is correct. I mean, it was a huge game. It was the championship for the club teams here in Costa Rica. Cartago versus Heredia. And Cartago had actually won the first leg 3-1 on their home turf. And it seemed that they were going to finally break the curse.
What is this curse that I've heard about now? Because I've read about this all over the internet, that there's this Cartago curse that's been keeping them from being what they should be.
Right. And there's always an excuse down here in Costa Rica, isn't there? Anyway, but what happened was in 1940, Cartago won their last championship. And after that championship, they were told that a priest from the Basilica of Los Angeles.
Here we go.
Stormed, and they were riding on top of their horses, celebrating the championship, and so therefore he cursed the team into not being able to win another championship. There's also a rumor that there is a strange voodoo-like doll that's buried under the home turf at the stadium, and that's going to curse them from ever winning a further title.
I don't know if I buy into all that, but I mean, these guys are basically the Boston Red Sox of Costa Rica, or what the Boston Red Sox were.
Exactly.
And now what my Toronto means.
So it's 73 years since their last championship. They're up 3-1 because it's an aggregate score over the two games. And they come to Heredia Stadium. And then in the 40th minute, they got a penalty kick. Heredia did, and the defender was ejected from the game, making it a man-up situation for Heredia for the remainder of the game. They converted on the penalty kick. They scored again in the 52nd minute, and the game ended up 2-0, which meant it was 3-3 aggregate. In the first overtime, Heredia scored a goal, and then with about 3 minutes left in the game, Cartago tied it. So it was 4-4. They went into penalties, and Cartago lost 5-4. So the curse continues.
There you have it. I mean, if anybody moves to Costa Rica or is living here as an expat now, basically soccer is going to be a part of your life, whether you like it or not. Otherwise, turn off the TV and stay off the streets, and don't talk to anybody, because that's the only way you're going to avoid it here. I'm not going to say it. Well, I'm going to say it. Costa Ricans are really not particularly good soccer players on a global scale. Would you agree with that?
I do agree with that. However, if you're talking to people on a national level, don't ever get in an argument, because you will be told that teams like Saprissa, La Liga, and sometimes even Heredia are better than some of these Man United and Barcelona, which don't get in an argument about it. You're going to lose it every time, because it's just going to frustrate the crap out of you.
All right, well, let's leave it there, and thanks for the soccer report. There's another thing that goes on here in Costa Rica, and it really does bother me. Costa Rica being known as a natural green ecological destination. I think one of our slogans from ICT is Costa Rica, no artificial ingredients. And this is all great and well and dandy, but the reality is I can go into just about any corner store in any small town in this country, and I can buy a bag of turtle eggs. And the reality is those turtle eggs are very much illegal.
Yeah, since 1996, Costa Rica has had a law in place where it's illegal to remove the turtle eggs from the beaches in Costa Rica. However, since that law has been put in place, egg poaching has gone up 30%.
Wow. And okay, now what I'm trying to understand, a lot of this stuff can be supply and demand.
Well, a lot of it is the fact that, okay, down in the Osa Peninsula, a lot of Panamanians cross the border and take the eggs. But I mean, there's of course like Ostinal, and there's a bunch of beaches in Guanacaste where these turtle eggs as well. Basically, it's a huge form of income down here for the locals, because they go out there and they know that these turtles are going to come to the beach, and they get the eggs, and they're sometimes known as an aphrodisiac, and which is strange because there's actually no evidence that it is an aphrodisiac, and they can actually potentially be unsafe for human consumption because of the heavy metals in some of the eggs.
There you have it, because we have the same issue with in Coco Islands with the shark finning, which is just abhorrent out there. And again, it has something to do with that demand. I mean, there's these Asian countries that are really wanting the shark fin soup, and I think it has something to do with male virility is one of the myths that's surrounding it. So you're telling me that there's something to this turtle egg thing as well. Whether it's true or not, there's people who believe that there's some sort of magical powers if they eat these things.
Right, and the fact is, if you can go collect 5 turtle eggs and sell them for 500 colones or $1, then I mean it's really quite easy to go out there and collect 100, and you're making $20, which is a decent day's work for a Costa Rican in many cases.
It's a shame because these turtles for centuries and centuries and centuries have nested exactly in the same place, in the same beach, and it's really tough to see that for a couple of bucks people are going to dig them up and sell them in corner stores or on the street. I don't really understand the appeal, and I don't know what the solution is going to be either. It's going to be impossible to police all of these beaches at night, so. We have to come up with some sort of creative solution. And a lot of these things start with education, I believe.
Right. And, I mean, they've done a study and found that some beaches in the Osa Peninsula up to half the nest have their eggs stolen from them.
Wow, that's
incredible. And if you look at the fact that there's only a tiny fraction of the eggs that survive until adulthood, the turtle populations can't rebound that quickly since the animals take so many years to mature and reproduce.
Unbelievable and a damn shame, I'm going to say it. But at least there's a growing awareness thanks to great online newspapers such as yours and radio stations like this one talking about it and at least getting the word out there. Dan, I want to thank you again. We got to run to a commercial break. Always good to talk to you.
Sounds great, Corey. Have a wonderful week and enjoy your time in Hocko.
Certainly will. Stick around, guys. I got Kathy, Joe, Craig, and Lyle coming into the studio next 2 segments. Hang in there.
So you want to jump out your trick bag and ease on into hip bag, but you ain't just exactly sure what's hip.
Sit back and relax. You are tuned into the Overseas Radio Network.
Okay, you're not stupid. You see the handwriting on the wall. You are thinking about joining the millions of Americans who have already left the country. But where do you go? You don't want to make the mistake of jumping from the frying pan into the fire. You need accurate info to make one of the most important decisions of your life. You need EscapeTheUSANow.com. You don't want to have regrets because your expat country collapsed due to crime, conflict, disease, famine, natural disaster, scarcity, war, or a government gone bad. Only at EscapeTheUSANow.com will you discover the handful of countries that offer true freedoms and unbelievable opportunities that most people could only dream of. EscapeTheUSANow.com is the information you cannot afford not to have. Information that took over 30 years to research, costing hundreds of thousands of dollars, with more than 250,000 miles traveled. For less than $2.50 per month, you can have what may be the most life-saving information you have ever obtained. EscapeTheUSANow.com, so you don't jump from the frying pan into the fire.
This is 90 Seconds with Joel Nagel on the Overseas Radio Network.
I have under $250,000 in assets I'd like to protect. Should I consider investing in real estate abroad?
Yes, I would say foreign real estate is a good asset class for most folks. There are many different types of foreign real estate, many different price points. Some folks buy it as investment. Some folks buy it as a vacation or retirement place they'd like to have for the future. And other folks buy foreign real estate as a stepping stone to helping them get foreign residency or even foreign citizenship in another country.
A fascinating point. Prior to my moving abroad, I definitely subscribed to the misconception whereby purchasing foreign real estate is exclusively the domain of the wealthy. Having done it myself now, I know that's absolutely not the case.
Foreign real estate can be purchased at virtually any dollar amount. So again, regardless of what your net worth is, you can buy foreign real estate that fits your needs. And it's also an asset that currently is not required to be reported to the foreign government. So if you buy a beach lot in Costa Rica, for example, where you are, Corey, then, there's no filing associated with that ownership.
For more information on the 15 global strategies to protect your wealth, visit NagelLaw.com. That's NagelLaw.com.
This is Kathleen Petticord and Leif Simon with the Live and Invest Overseas Minute on the Overseas Radio Network. One of the most important decisions you face when planning for a move to another country is to do with health insurance. This is a very personal decision with big implications. The first thing to understand is that with few exceptions, your U.S. health insurance and your U.S. Medicare are not going to travel with you beyond U.S. borders.
But you can find very good and very affordable options for obtaining health insurance in another country, whether you're retiring there or living there, depending on where in the world you're thinking of settling. In some countries, in fact, you can find full local coverage for as little as $100 or less a month.
The alternative would be an international policy. That is, international health insurance from an international health insurer. The critical difference between an international policy and a local policy is to do with geography. A local policy covers you only locally, only in the country where you purchased it, or in some cases, only in particular regions of that country, or only at particular medical care facilities or hospitals. For more information on making the leap overseas, visit us online at liveandinvestoverseas.com.
You're tuned in to OverseasRadio.com, your online radio resource about life abroad.
Good. What? What is it? This week in Costa Rica. Fun, informative, and your questions answered. Talk live with one of our on-air experts and start living your dream now.
Welcome back to This Week in Costa Rica. Big thanks to Dan Stevens from the Costa Rican Times for his Fine reporting from the Central Valley and Greater San Jose area. Always good to talk to him. Back here in studio now at the Overseas Radio Broadcast Facility here in Hot Beach. Next segment means we got Lyle Head, my co-host with the most in. How are you doing, Lyle?
Another wonderful day here, man.
Beautiful. I mean, living the life. And I'm really excited because we've got two special guests here who have come down to Costa Rica to visit and are here to speak a little bit about some of the experiences that they had in the last couple of weeks. We've got Kathy Jo and Craig from Canada. How are you guys?
Good.
Good, thank you. How are you?
Super. Great to have you here. And what I want to get, if I can, I'm going to go over to Craig first.
Sure.
And see if we can just get some of your first impressions of Costa Rica. I know you've been here before on a more vacation, but this was more of an exploratory trip. So what are your first impressions of the country?
Well, it was what I've heard previous of the what people had said about Costa Rica varied greatly from people advising not to travel here and people advising to travel here.
Yeah, you had mentioned that you said, you've been walking around town and you've been driving all over the place and that you felt safer than you expected to.
Much safer. In fact, once we rented the vehicle, we basically drove right across the entire countryside and didn't come across any hostility or any of the things that people had said that we may experience.
Now, Kathy Jo, who was the one that convinced the other to do that? You came here and you started in Jaco. So you flew into San Jose, took a shuttle out here to Jaco. Then you drove all the way to Osa, and then at some point you drove all the way across the country to the Caribbean, to Cahuita. I don't know who made that decision to do that.
Well, actually, Craig knew that I really wanted to go see the sloth sanctuary, which was in near Cahuita. And so he was up for doing the mountain drive all the way through Cartago, which was great because it allowed us to see the Caribbean coast, and we got to see the mountain region in Osa. It was the best way to see all of Costa Rica.
So as a couple Canadians down here, what are your feelings in terms of the country? Do you enjoy the weather? Do you find it a little too hot, a little too humid?
The weather is warm. I think at first it took us about a week to get used to it. Definitely the roads. We'd heard that the roads are terrible in Costa Rica and you can't travel them very easily, which wasn't the case at all. I think that we found that every road that we traveled on was nicely paved. There was some when we went down to Osa that they were, I guess, less traveled, a little more bumpy, but all in all, it was a pretty pleasant experience in terms of driving.
Yeah, Lyle, we talk about that all the time, man. Once you get into those southern zones, those more remote areas, that the infrastructure is still not in place.
Yeah, the big problem is all those stuff that you read, they still talk about the old roads.
That's right, and a lot of the information that's out there is actually outdated. You know, you pick up some of these Lonely Planet books, and they're still recycling some of the info that was out there 5-10 years ago. So those roads have been paved and changed.
For sure. But you explain to these guys where they just went. They went to the bottom of Costa Rica. Then they went back across the country and came back across the country again. All in a couple days.
It's like so it's like you guys basically ran the gamut. I mean, Costa Rica is the size of, and I've heard it, this is the reference, about the size of West Virginia. It's not a very big country. Geographically speaking, but it's mountainous. There's volcanoes out there. I mean, it's actually a little bit tricky to navigate. So
that was very much so the case. Like there's the mountain range that runs centrally through Costa Rica, and that was the most difficult part to navigate around. The routes are the more direct way is the longer way, or the easier way is the longer way to go. The more direct way, the mountain is, if you go through the mountains, it takes much longer than if you take the longer route, which is through San Jose and over to Limon.
But it's nice that you caught both ways. You got that legendary Route 32 that goes up through the Carrillo National Park, which is gorgeous,
just phenomenal. Yeah, the vistas that we witnessed up there were just breathtaking and just inspiring to see that.
Well, I'll never forget when I first went to that Caribbean coast and I went through that park. I felt like I was in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I definitely had that same feeling of awe. And, with the 5 or 6 hour drive that it took us to get through the mountains, not any time were we bored. It just actually kind of flew by, except a few aches and backaches. But the scenery was gorgeous from start to finish. Yeah.
So now let's do the East Coast, West Coast comparison. There obviously are stark differences that Lyle and I are aware of. But what are some of the observations that you guys have made?
Just a lack of, amenities and feeling wasn't as developed. And I guess also that feeling, just when you're in a new country and you're driving through, I would say maybe on the Caribbean side, we felt a little more nervous. I guess you just think of.
Well, Well, I guess as we were traveling, we were hearing different stories about Limon and stuff being a port town and very dangerous, which it may have been. We kind of drove through it because it didn't seem like a place that we wanted to hang out too long.
Well, there's some truth to that. Limon is a dangerous town, and it's a port city. And, it's funny because my aunt came down to Costa Rica maybe 2 years ago, but she was on a cruise ship. And they do a little stop there in that port. And she said, that country of yours lacks curb appeal. It's like, well, the cruise ship pulled up in one of the kind of ugliest little towns that we've got. But Limon is sort of one of those towns you have to go through to get down to Cahuita or Puerto Viejo or Punta Uva, or all those beautiful areas down in the southern zone in the Caribbean. So
I think the eastern coast, it's harder to access some of the beaches. If you look on maps on the west coast, you just say playa, all the way down, like beach after beach, that you can access to, generally off of like the Pan Am Highway there. Whereas over on the east side, it's, I guess, not as developed again, but just harder to access that. Or there's not as much, I guess, promotion for going over and visiting that side.
I think you're right. The ease of access, and there's a lack of amenities there still. It's still a very developing area of the country, which is great for a lot of pioneering entrepreneurs. Those that want to get out there and get in early and get some well-priced land and start building up. I know a lot of people who run little sanctuaries and great boutique hotels, and those are for the folks that are looking for that true get-off-the-grid escape. One of the things that I've always sort of disliked about the Caribbean is there's a lot more rainfall in that region, right?
We didn't experience that actually. The days that we were there were clear. But yeah, I have heard from other locals that there is quite a bit of rain. Yeah.
So contrast to that, you guys are back here on the West Coast, here in Jaco, and you spend a little bit of time up and down this coast. And what are your feelings here?
What I like about here is the convenience that, as we were driving down to Osa, we were going through all these little small towns like Dominical and going on to, is it Uvita? And all these different places where we could stop and have a bite to eat, have a swim. It kind of made the day trips or, the rental car experience fun because there was so much we could do and shape into our vacation. So it felt like it was, whatever we're going to experience was really fulfilling for each day.
Now, you've come down here during the low season or the rainy season or the green season, whatever you choose to call it. But how do you feel about the weather right now? We've got nice sunny mornings and overcast evenings, a little bit of rain.
I think that this is the great season. It's perfect. The weather is great. It just rains a little bit either in the evening or in the morning, and it's not a bad temperature. It's not overly humid. The beaches aren't crowded. It's great to be here at this time of year.
Yeah, it feels like a Canadian summer. It feels like, it could be July or August back home where we're from. So the humidity doesn't really bother us too much because we're kind of used to it. So we just kind of adapt our day to the times of day that we think are maybe too hot to be outside. And then we still are going swimming in the pool in the ocean. So it's great.
Lyle and I can tell you, we're the masters of it. It's not coping with the weather. It's knowing when to be in and when to be out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's exactly it. If you can be indoors when it's raining, just plan your day around that. Then the rain is great. Cools everything off, makes it all green and clean.
No, I love the rain. It's the best time of the year, especially when you just get like 10 minutes of it and it cools everything down.
Yeah. We got a couple more minutes here in this segment. So I'd like to do this. I'd like to start dipping into how you guys feel because you are successful entrepreneurs. Why don't we say that? You guys are doing very well in Canada. In your area of business. And I understand you're thinking about expanding your area into Costa Rica. So I'd like to maybe dip into that a little bit, not only here, but in the next segment. So is that something that you feel now, even in first impressions, that's a realistic possibility that you could open and do business here in Costa Rica?
Absolutely. I do believe that there's a lot of opportunity waiting to be explored here. There is quite a bit already here, but like with any kind of imagination, you can definitely get into this market. I feel that it would be relatively easy to just more or less just all of a sudden set up shop and get into something. You still have to work. It's not easy. Maybe a little bit harder than it would be back home. And in some cases, maybe a little bit easier than it would be back home. But all in all, I think this is a great opportunity. Like there's a lot of opportunity here. Real estate included, which is what Kathy Jo and I have been down here looking at, is mostly real estate so far. And maybe a couple of other business ideas that are floating around. But even real estate after the big market crash in 2007, 2008, things are starting to recover very nicely down here. And I see good things for the future of investment and for the city or town of Jaco.
Perfect. Great answer. And we're going to get back into that in a little bit. We're speaking with Kathy, Joe, and Craig from Canada, visiting down here, looking at opportunities. Lyle Head, of course, with us here in studio. I'm going to take a little commercial break here, eat some more of my organic brownie that came from the ferry. We'll probably talk about that market trip in a little bit, too. You guys can find all the info about the show today, of course, at thisweekincostarica.com. Email is info@thisweekincostarica.com. Stick around, guys. We'll be right back after this short break.
So you wanna jump out your trick bag and ease on into hip bag, but you ain't just exactly sure what's hip.
You're tuned in to overseasradio.com, the station to help you reach your dream destination.
Georgetown Global Metals is a division of Georgetown Trust Ltd., an international financial services company headquartered in Belize with offices in Zurich, Switzerland, and Panama City, Panama. Georgetown Global Metals is a leader in the physical acquisition and storage of metals worldwide. The company utilizes the best and most state-of-the-art facilities in Switzerland, Germany, Singapore, and Panama to store metals inside or outside the customs borders of the countries in which we maintain storage facilities. Georgetown can also acquire and store virtually any strategic, industrial, or defense-oriented metal for our clients. Most metals can also be fully insured throughout the delivery and storage process with Lloyd's of London. For a free, no-obligation quote on any precious or other metals, acquisition, or storage, please contact Louis Eck at georgetown@btl.net. Mention you heard about Georgetown Global Metals on ORN and receive 1 month storage absolutely free. Again, that is georgetown@btl.net or telephone International Country Code Belize +501 226 3569.
This tree was never chopped down because this crutch never needed to be carved, because these legs never grew weak, because this child never got polio. Over the past 20 years, Rotary Club members have helped immunize over 2 billion children against polio. Now we're on the brink of eradicating this crippling disease once and for all. But we need your help. Thanks to an historic matching grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, every dollar Rotary raises will work twice as hard to make sure vaccines reach the people who need it, to protect the children of the world against polio forever. This is an opportunity to end polio now. Visit rotary.org/endpolio. Rotary. Humanity in motion.
Are you an American living abroad? If so, you probably need to file a U.S. tax return and report your foreign bank accounts each year. This can be overwhelming. The rules for expats can be tricky and mistakes can be very costly. The experts at Greenback Expat Tax Services are here to help. Our accountants are all U.S. qualified CPAs or IRS enrolled agents. We offer our customers a flat fee pricing structure, so there are no surprises, and we have the experience you need to make sure your taxes are done correctly. If you want an expert U.S. accountant to prepare your U.S. taxes, help you catch up on your U.S. taxes, or simply answer your questions, then contact us today at www.greenbacktaxservices.com.
Do you want to completely and legally end your obligations to the U.S. government, including your obligation to pay income tax on your worldwide income? The Nestman Group has experience in dozens of these cases, and we can show you how. Contact us at 1-602-604-1524 or on the web at www.nestman.com and sign up for our free blog. The Nestman Group, Wealth Preservation Solutions.
Overseasradio.com, broadcasting from Panama to Paris and beyond.
You know what I just heard? What? Costa Rica has the reputation of being the happiest country on earth. But it gets better. This Week in Costa Rica brings you the best information. The best. From the people who understand why so many choose to call this beautiful place home. Bringing you the latest information from expats, experts, and people just like you who chose to escape, retire, and live in Costa Rica. This Week in Costa Rica. Pura Vida.
Welcome back to This Week in Costa Rica. Man, my head's buzzing. I'm sugar rushing here. Eating all this incredible brownie that came from the farmer's market. This is just sugar and pure butter. Man, oh man, I'm going to lose it. Speaking with Kathy, Joe, and Craig, Lyle Head here in studio. I got to ask, guys, before we get back into real estate and business opportunities here, you went to the ferry or the farmer's market with me and got to see all the little booths and stands and talk to all the folks down there. What were your impressions of that?
Well, I thought the variety of fruits and vegetables was amazing, and the prices were unbelievable. I loved that it was just such an open air market. It was just perfect. It was the perfect size. And it was cool also to see some other businesses selling their products, like the different dips and the marmalades and those little like chocolate brownies that you're eating.
No, it's amazing. Yeah, what do you think, Craig?
It was just kind of a dream for me. Like I love to eat as many fresh fruits and vegetables, most being organically grown, pesticide free. Also, like the milk that you had picked up this morning, the raw goat's milk. That was a treat in itself. I'd never had that before. But yeah, it's just amazing that you can get so much great food, basically at your fingertips, and all year round, and it's cheap. It is like amazingly cheap and fresh. Like with no truck rides, no 48-hour truck rides or weeks. It's right there.
Yeah, no pineapple ripening on a ship in the Atlantic. You know, it just came out of the field yesterday. And for all the foodies up there who are a little bit nuts about this stuff, it's great to be able to get raw milk and raw yogurt, because it's illegal basically in Canada. And in a lot of the United States, it's almost impossible to get a hold of. So it's super cool to just be able to go around the corner and pick that up, put it in your smoothie, and feel like $1 million. I want to jump into real estate here a little bit again, because you have not only done the whirlwind tour of Costa Rica as a couple tourists in a car, but I've never seen anybody take in more real estate in a shorter period of time as you two guys did.
Yeah, we certainly did. The most, I'd say the majority of our vacation was dedicated to real estate, really getting a handle and a feel for the country and the state of the real estate market on the west side more so than the east side, and here in Jaco in particular, and near surrounding area.
It seems to me that you guys came down, instead of focusing on some particular segment or some particular type of property, you threw a pretty wide net out there to see what kind of information you can bring back in.
We wanted to explore the country as best as we could to really truly get a good feel for it. And only having 2 weeks down here, we had to fit in as much as possible, traveling 1,000 kilometers in a few days in a rental car. That was, but it was a good experience because it really gave us an intimate kind of idea of what's going on here in terms of business, but also real estate, how the U.S. recovery with the economy is affecting down here in Costa Rica. And it does seem positive. There are still some high prices that are down here that, unfortunately, some of the people who had invested when the market was at its peak and there's at a loss right now. They're trying to recover their money, but the market is rebounding, it seems. And those people, I think that it's just a matter of a waiting game before down here it fully recovers.
Now, Lyle can speak to this too, because I'm a little bit unawares and a little bit ignorant in the market because I don't know a great deal about real estate. But what was surprising to me, Lyle, is that we went to a couple of the different condo units that were around here, and 2 units that are identical can have 2 completely different price points, depending on the needs and expectations of the seller.
Yeah, it's embarrassing as a realtor that we even take those listings when they're not at the same price. Right? Like we can't convince the owner that your property shouldn't be on the market right now.
Yeah, it makes me wonder because if I were listing a property, let's say that I want to sell it for $500,000, and I know that my neighbor downstairs is selling his that's identical for $350,000. How can I even believe that somebody's going to look or even put an offer in on my place?
Because maybe you pay more commission and you get a shady realtor that's going to show yours only because he's going to get paid more.
Okay, all right. And there's always that kind of dealer financing, and there's some fancy loans that seem to go on around here as well.
Yeah, the big thing is it's because there's no MLS, like the person that you work with is the most important part, that you can trust the person that you work with. It's going to show you everything and not just show you based off of where they're going to make the most money. Because that's kind of the mentality down here. You find a lot of people that all they want to do is just show you, oh, I'm only getting paid 3% on that. Well, I'm not going to push that one. I want the one that I'm going to get paid 5%.
I don't like the sounds of any of that.
Me neither. I hate it.
Now, you guys, Kathy, Joe, and Craig, you've had some pretty good experience, I'm guessing, with realtors here.
Yeah, I think we've had an incredible experience. We've been looking at properties that have ranged from $200,000 to I guess maybe 700,000. So it's been a wide range, and we found that, like, honesty from the realtor Jeff. He's been really great.
The realtor, he was very selective in the properties that he showed us, for the only reason that the properties that he was not showing us were the ones that were the overpriced ones, that the sellers were kind of still back in the 2006 marketplace, thinking that they could fetch high prices. So he was only giving us the ones that were feasible, I guess, in today's market.
And for us, we're looking for something maybe a little different than other people. We're looking for the great deal, the investment, not really looking at a long-term increase in value. We're looking for something that we can make an income off now or see that return in a faster period. We might not be here to spend our time in Costa Rica right away, even though we're playing with that idea of thinking of other businesses we could open if we moved here. So we need to think of something that we can generate an income quite quickly here.
Now, Lyle, what's the feasibility of that here in this market, to buy something like maybe a condo that you can rent out, or something that you can convert right away?
Huge amount of incomes right off the beginning is difficult unless you put a lot of effort in yourself. Just because, I mean, even us as a large management company, because we have so many properties, driving enough traffic to all of them is difficult still. We need help from the owner. But a combination of working with a good property management company and the owner doing some help with sending some people down here, if you get an extra 6-7 weeks out of the year, at $1,500 to $2,000 for a week from friends and families and people that live in your local area, that makes a huge difference in the income for the year.
I really enjoyed yesterday. I did a little ride along with you guys because I had nothing better to do. Don't tell my boss. We went out and we saw a bunch of the Daystar properties because I was curious to see a lot of them that I had not been into prior. And Sean was great, by the way, Lyle. I mean, you've got a great team there at the office. I was super impressed with his knowledge, his professionalism, and the way that he handled everything. I mean, just open, honest, right down the pipe. I mean, shoot from the hip kind of guy.
Yeah. We got both him and David are solid as they get around here.
And I think what you guys probably saw, Craig and Kathy Jo, is that he kind of walked us through the sort of development of Daystar from some of their first projects to how it ended up at Diamante del Sol. So I think it was really kind of interesting to watch that and then talk about some of the future projects that are being put together here, especially with that Crocs Casino.
Yeah, we're what's cool about Daystar is there's something for everybody. You got all price points and kind of different personality types in each of the different properties. It kind of tracks different people, being their 5 different projects.
Now, I'm biased. We all know I'm biased. Yeah. We all know where I like to be. I'm right here in Vista Las Palmas. Everyone knows that Paul's my man downstairs, and this is the place that I like to be. Kathy Jo and Craig, what are your impressions of this particular unit?
Well, it's a pretty luxurious unit, and when you start here, it kind of does make it hard to look at other things. But this is a gorgeous place. We've been enjoying the pool and the hot tub every day. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it really is an amazing place. Very luxury, like Kathy Jo had said, and it is hard to view other places, but there are many, many other nice places out there. Like the Daystar, we saw some very nice units there, and like at different price points. But I guess it's all about what you're looking for, your price range, and what you're willing to invest down here, because everything has potential.
Anybody who listens to this show knows that I'm pro Jaco, and I've heard you guys say a lot of great things about this town. I was hoping you could maybe share some of those ideas or thoughts with our listeners.
Sure. Well, we come from a small town as well. Our town probably has about 5,000 people. So coming to this town, within a few days, we feel like we know it inside and out. We've done a great job exploring the streets, and, it just feels like we could easily become part of this town.
Yeah, it's like we were saying earlier that you hear those horror stories. People say, don't go out at night. You're going to get mugged or robbed by gunpoint. And there was none of that here. Like, it's everywhere that we've been in Costa Rica, I have felt safe. Like, as long as you use reason. Like, if you go any country, any city like in North America, there's the good parts and the bad parts. You stay away from those bad parts. It's all good. And everywhere that we have gone, nighttime, nightlife, it's been great. Like, it's no threat, there was no paranoia, I don't think, on either our part.
I'm sure you've enjoyed the no shortage of great places to eat here in town as well, right?
I feel like I could write reviews now for the town, really. I feel like we've sampled many places.
Yeah. There's just an amazing array of great dining experiences. And how do you feel about that blend? There's sort of that, as they say in Spanish, mezcla of the Tico and the Gringo culture. I mean, there's a really nice balance of the two here, I find.
Yeah, I think I've noticed that as well, and it's great. I feel like every kind of type of food, any service I'd want to go to back in Ontario, I can access here. And I also would say that the prices are comparable to Ontario as well. So as far as living here, I would probably use a similar budget as I do back home.
Very quickly, Craig, we've got like 2 minutes left, but I want to ask you went to see the doctor at the private clinic here. How was that experience for you?
Oh, yeah. I was able to see the healthcare system here, and it was absolutely amazing. I would actually say better than I would have experienced back in Canada. But that's not, I guess, too hard to believe. But yeah, it was quick service. Every pharmacy has like a doctor there or somebody that can check you out. I went to an actual doctor, though, at this one clinic, and it was a quick air-conditioned. Doctor came, he saw me. I was in talking with him for 25 minutes. He did a whole rundown of my health, history, everything. And yeah, so it was a very, very pleasant experience and an easy. That was I felt like I could, with any kind of illness, I would be fine. Well taken care of.
What was the bill?
The bill for the doctor was $50. That included all my prescriptions. He gave me free prescriptions as well. Then he gave me one to go to the local pharmacy, which there's many here in Hako. And that one I think was about $30 as well. So it wasn't very expensive. And for the service, I did not mind paying for it at all because it was so quick, in, out, and well, it was just great.
There you have it, guys. We got to run here. That is the end of the program today. I want to thank Kathy, Joe, and Craig for joining us, and of course Lyle for coming into studio as well and helping us out all this week, setting us up with seeing all these great properties. I want to thank you guys for listening to the show either live or downloading it. Don't forget you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, on the internet, everywhere. You want to find me, I'm going to be on the beach eating this brownie. See you next week, guys.
So you want to jump out your trick bag and ease on into hip bag, but you ain't just exactly sure what's hip.
Ready to learn about a new life overseas?